I still remember the first time I visited my grandparents' old house. It was a big place with many rooms and long halls, but what caught my attention was the attic. My grandparents always told me never to go there. As a curious child, I couldn't help myself. One summer, when I was about 12, I explored the attic while my grandparents were grocery shopping. The attic door was always locked, but I had found a rusty old key in my grandpa's study that I was sure would fit. As I turned the key in the lock, my heart pounded. The door creaked open slowly, revealing a dark staircase leading up. I hesitated, but my curiosity got the better of me. I grabbed a flashlight and started climbing. The attic was dusty and filled with old furniture covered in white sheets. Cobwebs hung from the ceiling, and the air was thick and musty. As I shone my flashlight, I saw old trunks, broken toys, and forgotten family heirlooms. It seemed harmless enough at first, but then I noticed something strange. In the far corner, there was an old rocking chair. It was the only thing in the attic that wasn't dust-covered. I thought that was odd, but I shrugged it off and moved closer to examine it. As I approached, I felt a sudden chill. The temperature dropped, and I could see my breath in the air. I froze, flashlight shaking in my hand. Then, out of nowhere, the rocking chair started to move. Slowly at first, then faster and faster. I wanted to run, but I was rooted to the spot. Then I heard it, a soft, whispering voice. It was so faint that I could barely make it out, but it was there. "Get out," it said. "Leave now." That was enough for me. I bolted out of the attic, slamming the door behind me. I never went back up there again, and I never told my grandparents what happened. But every time I visited them after that, I could feel eyes watching me from the attic. I always made sure to lock the door behind me. Years later, after my grandparents had passed away, I learned the truth. The house had once belonged to a family who had lost their little girl in a tragic accident. She had fallen down the stairs and died instantly. Her favorite spot in the house had been that rocking chair in the attic. Some say her spirit still lingers there, waiting for someone to play with her. But I know better. She doesn't want to play. She wants everyone to stay away from her chair. And I, for one, will never forget the warning she gave me that day. After my grandparents passed away, the house was left to my parents. They decided to keep it as a family retreat, a place we could visit during the holidays and summers. Despite my unease about the attic, I couldn't deny the charm of the old house. It was filled with memories and history, and it felt like a connection to my grandparents. One summer, when I was in my 20s, my parents suggested we spend a few weeks at the house. They wanted to clean it up, maybe do some renovations, and just enjoy some time away from the city. I reluctantly agreed, but the thought of the attic still sent shivers down my spine. We arrived on a warm, sunny afternoon. The house looked the same as I remembered, with its white paint peeling slightly, and the big oak tree in the front yard casting long shadows. My parents were excited, talking about all the things they wanted to do, but I couldn't shake the feeling of being watched. The first few days were uneventful. We cleaned, unpacked, and started making plans for the renovations. I avoided the attic entirely, refusing even to glance at the door. But then, one evening, something strange happened. It was late, and I was alone in the living room, reading a book. My parents had gone to bed early, exhausted from the day's work. The house was quiet, except for the occasional creak and groan of the old wood. As I read, I heard a faint noise coming from upstairs. It sounded like humming. I put down my book and listened more closely. Yes, it was humming, soft and melodic, like a child's lullaby. My heart began to race. I knew it was coming from the attic. I wanted to ignore it, to pretend I hadn't heard anything, but my curiosity got the better of me once again. I grabbed my flashlight and made my way upstairs, each step echoing loudly in the silent house. The humming grew louder as I approached the attic door. My hands were shaking as I reached for the doorknob. I hesitated, then turned it slowly. The door swung open, revealing the dark staircase. Taking a deep breath, I climbed the stairs. The humming was clearer now, a soft, sorrowful tune that seemed to fill the entire attic. When I reached the top, I shone my flashlight around, my heart pounding. There, in the corner, was the rocking chair. It was moving again, back and forth, as if someone invisible was sitting in it. And then I saw her, a faint, ghostly figure of a little girl, sitting in the chair, her eyes closed, humming softly. I couldn't move. I couldn't speak. I just stood there, frozen in terror. The little girl opened her eyes and looked directly at me. Her eyes were sad, filled with a deep, ancient sorrow. She stopped humming and just stared at me. "Please," she whispered, her voice echoing in the stillness. "Help me." I wanted to run, to flee from the attic and never come back, but something in her eyes held me there. She looked so lost, so alone. I found my voice, trembling and weak. "How?" I asked. "How can I help you?" She pointed to a small dusty trunk beside the rocking chair. "In there," she said. "Please." I walked over to the trunk, my hands shaking. I opened it slowly, and inside I found an old tattered doll and a small, leather-bound diary. The doll looked well-loved, with one button eye missing and its dress frayed. The diary was worn and faded, its pages yellowed with age. I picked up the diary and opened it. The handwriting was small and neat, a child's handwriting. I read the first entry. "Today is my birthday. Mama gave me a new doll. I love her so much. I named her Emily. We're going to be best friends forever." I felt a lump in my throat as I read. The diary belonged to the little girl, the one who had died in the accident. I continued reading, feeling a growing sadness and a connection to this lost spirit. The entries were filled with innocent joys and simple dreams, but as I read on, the tone changed. "Mama and Papa are fighting again. I don't like it when they fight. It makes me scared. I hide in the attic with Emily. She makes me feel safe." I could feel the little girl's fear and loneliness in the words. She had found solace in the attic, in her rocking chair with her doll. The final entry sent chills down my spine. "I heard Mama and Papa fighting again. I tried to go downstairs to stop them, but I fell. Everything went dark. I'm so cold." Tears filled my eyes as I closed the diary. I looked at the ghostly figure of the little girl. She was still watching me, her eyes full of longing. "I'm sorry," I said, my voice breaking. "I'm so sorry." She gave me a sad smile. "Thank you," she whispered. "Thank you for finding my diary. Now I can rest." With that, she faded away, the rocking chair slowing to a stop. The attic felt different, lighter somehow. The coldness that had gripped me was gone. I took the diary and the doll downstairs and showed them to my parents. They were shocked and saddened by the story I told them. We decided to give the little girl a proper memorial, to honor her memory and hopefully bring her peace. We buried the doll and the diary in the backyard, under the old oak tree. We said a few words, remembering the little girl and the tragedy that had befallen her. As we finished, a gentle breeze rustled the leaves, and I felt a sense of calm wash over me. From that day on, the attic was different. The chill was gone, and the eerie feeling of being watched disappeared. I still felt a deep sadness for the little girl, but I also felt that she had found some peace. The house remained in our family, a place of cherished memories and a reminder of the past. And though I never went back to the attic, I knew that the little girl's spirit had finally found rest. Years later, when I had children of my own, I told them the story of the little girl in the attic. It became a family legend, a tale passed down through generations. And every time we visited the old house, we would leave flowers under the oak tree, a small token of remembrance for the little girl who had once called it home. Even now, as I tell this story, I can still feel the weight of her sorrow and the relief of her release. The haunting in the attic was more than just a ghost story. It was a reminder of the fragility of life and the importance of compassion and understanding. And though the little girl is gone, her memory lives on in our hearts, a part of our family's history forever.